Okay, next question is from Blake Symington.
Hello, Blake.
I would like to ask about traditional Catholic teaching with regards to the Orthodox Church, specifically what the Church teaches about the validity of their sacraments and about their salvation. Furthermore, I should like to ask Charles what he thinks about the possibility of a reconciliation of the Orthodox and Catholic churches.
Well, good questions. Firstly, the Catholic Church recognizes Orthodox sacraments as valid. That's why according to Canon 844, if you cannot get to a Catholic priest, you're allowed to receive from Orthodox. You can go to confession, receive communion from them, if they'll do it for you. And there is a big if there. But their sacraments are valid. When they absolve sins, those sins are gone. When they call God down upon the altar, there he is. That's without a doubt. Same is also true of what are called the lesser Eastern churches, the Assyrians, the Ethiopians, the Copts, the Malabaris, the Syrian Jacobites, and the Armenians. All their rites are valid.
Where does it say it? What's the authority that says that?
Oh gosh, from the very beginning when Pope, St. Cyprian was the Bishop of Carthage, Pope Cornelius, the first declared that the sacraments were ex opere operato, which means that as long as the proper form and matter and intention are used, then schismatic or heretical sacraments are valid.
That's what he said, schismatic or heretical?
Yeah.
Wow.
So long as those three things are done and the apostolic succession is maintained. And what is the apostolic succession? That is the succession from the apostles of the episcopate. It was not preserved with the Anglicans or the other Protestant churches, but it was preserved by the Orthodox and these other groups.
Okay.
Now, in terms of their salvation, they have the means of salvation, the sacraments, but whether it avails them, that depends upon the individual. What do I mean by that? Well, we know from the Council of Florence that the schismatics are banned from heaven. But schism is a very individual thing.
Mm-hmm.
There are some Orthodox who hate the Pope, hate the Catholic Church. They're definitely schismatics. And if they die that way, in that utter hatred of Catholicism, I don't see how they would save their souls. But there are other Orthodox who are quite different. I've known some who've accepted the Pope as head of the Church, pray for the dead, or pray for souls in purgatory, even though Orthodox aren't supposed to believe in it. People like that, it's a different story. Because you've got to bear in mind that the Orthodox churches are like parts of the Catholic Church that were broken off and went off on their own.
Yeah.
But unlike heresy, which is a very definite act of the will, schism is very often a question of circumstance. So, for instance, let's say that you were a Catholic in England in the 1500s. Your episcopate are all Anglican, but they've all got valid orders. This is under Henry VIII. So your church is schismatic. Are you schismatic? Well, that depends on you. Similarly, I have known Catholics, including Catholic prelates, who were in their heart of hearts schismatic. That is to say, they did not accept the authority of the Pope.
Yeah.
Only their own. And they were schismatics, if the word means anything.
Yeah.
If I were to take such an Orthodox person who accepts the Pope and so forth, and such a Catholic, quote-unquote, prelate, which one's really the Catholic? So, in my humble opinion, and of course, if the Church wants to correct me, I'm certainly welcome to it. But whether or not an Orthodox is schismatic depends entirely upon his own mental state.
I see.
And I would suspect that many a person who appears to be a schismatic in the Orthodox Church is not. For that matter, we're allowed to venerate a certain number of post-schism Orthodox saints as saints.
Yeah.
Now that implies that they're in heaven, or we couldn't venerate them.
Interesting.
So, but you see how weird and gooey it gets.
Yeah.
It's not, and of course the other thing is, in a sense, it was simpler before 1964, because at that point, the Archbishop of the Patriarch of Constantinople and the Pope of Rome had excommunicated each other. At least their predecessors had, and there it was.
Yeah.
But those were lifted in 1964. So what does that mean? I don't know. I think it, at the very least, I would say that an Orthodox who does not hate the Church, in other words, who's not schismatically minded, has as good a chance of saving his soul via the sacraments at his disposal as a Catholic does. That is to say, it's still tough. Now the question is, the question is about the possibility of a reconciliation.
Yeah.
I have to believe, again, looking at history and seeing that God has allowed the apostolic succession to die out in some places and to stay in others, I have to presume that there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And, I agree very much with the current Patriarch of Moscow, who says that as a schism is like a divorce, and we need to see it as a sin, as a wrong, before we can do anything about it, before we can get past it. And we have to try to love the other side. Now, what does this mean concretely? Well, it means, firstly, we have got to get over being used to the East being in schism. We have got to see that as wrong. Not wrong as in they're evil. Wrong as in it's a bad state of affairs. And the thing about schism, as St. Thomas points out, while objectively speaking, heresy is worse, subjectively speaking, schism is worse. And the reason is that heresy, the heretic like the Orthodox, both believe that they're pushing for God's will, God's word, God's belief. But the schism, either or both sides in a schism, are just out for themselves.
Yeah.
Anyway, do I believe that East and West will one day be reunited? Yes. Do I think it's going to be easy? No. Do I think it will probably be as the result of some horror that smacked both sides around pretty good? Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I think is going to happen. Some terrible, whether it be human or natural, something awful is going to force us all to give up our pride and to see in each other brothers in the sacraments. But of course, it shouldn't happen in our time because nothing bad can ever happen to us who are alive at the moment.